There's nothing like a tropical vacation. Crystal clear waters, warm sun on your skin, and that towering mountain in the distance. It's massive and majestic. And wait, did it just rumble? It's probably nothing. Time to kick back and work on that tan. Hold on, why are the locals suddenly running? Find out on this episode of The Infographics Show, places where you will die if you visit. Number 20. Kagari. Formerly known as Fraser Island, Kagari is an island located on the eastern coast of Australia, and it's one of the most biologically diverse regions of the country. The waters off the island are stunning, making it a popular tourist destination both for Australians and international tourists. Not only is it an amazing spot to experience Australian nature, but it's a great way to come into contact with some of the continent's wildlife. But that may be the place's biggest attraction and its biggest negative, because Australian wildlife, to put it lightly, can be terrifying. Fraser Island is loaded with some of the scariest creatures in Australia, both on and off the coast. Inland, you'll encounter venomous snakes and some of the world's largest spiders, many of which will pack a painful bite. In the water, the area is a popular spot for sharks, including tiger sharks and bull sharks. But the biggest threat might be the wild dingoes. These aggressive dogs have attacked people in the past, even killing a child in 2001. They often hunt in packs, making them a real danger if you're out in the open. So if you're thinking of getting up close with nature, just hope your holiday memories don't turn into a survival story. But sometimes, the most dangerous animal of all is man. Number 19. Alagoas. Brazil is one of the world's largest countries, and it has just about everything, and that includes a lot of danger. The massive Amazon rainforest is home to large predators, deadly snakes, and hazardous conditions for tourists. Some of the biggest cities, like Rio de Janeiro, are filled with gang violence and street crime. It's possible to visit Brazil and have a great time, but caution is warranted, especially if you're visiting a small state on the eastern coast. Its name is Alagoas, and it has a population of over 3 million people, and it more than carries its weight in danger. Because pound for pound, Alagoas is the most dangerous place in Brazil. The region has the highest murder rate in Brazil, plagued by violent gang activity and frequent robberies. It's also one of the poorest states in the country. While there's a tourist market along the beach, many who come there are taken aback by the dangers. And if you think that the police will help, think again. Alagoas' law enforcement is notorious for corruption, with many travelers reporting that they had to pay bribes just to stay safe. But sometimes it's being alone that is the scariest thing of all. Number 18. Dalton Highway. Alaska is a big place, like really big. It's been said that if Alaska was divided into two, Texas would find itself the third largest state. And given its remote frozen location near the Arctic Circle, those who find themselves working in the more remote areas of the state, which is 90% of the state, can drive themselves for miles and miles without seeing another soul. But there is no more remote and intimidating area of the state than the Dalton Highway, a massive 414-mile stretch of highway spanning the center of the state. It only has 3 towns along the way, all of which have less than 100 permanent residents. And that means that a lack of preparation can mean death. The road sees a little more traffic during oil production season, but it's still mostly gravel. One wrong move, a crash, an empty gas tank, or even a sudden medical emergency can leave you stranded over 100 miles from the nearest town in freezing temperatures. It's called the loneliest road in America, and it lives up to that name. Most of the people who brave it are hardscrabble Alaskan workers who know the terrain well, and they know how to survive in America's most desolate landscape. Now let's return to Australia for a place that's even more isolated. Number 17. The Outback. When people talk about the Outback, they usually don't know that they're referring to 90% of the country of Australia. Almost the entire country's population lives among the modern cities on the coast. The rest of the country is heavily dominated by a massive expanse of desert and plains that are home to a wide range of flora and fauna. It's a beautiful place and one of the most unique ecosystems on the earth. And even most Australians will never see it because it's as packed with danger as it is with beauty. And it mostly comes back to one thing: it's really, really big. The Outback population is around 600,000 people, but it's over 2.1 million square miles in area. That means those people are incredibly distributed across it, and there are large swaths of land that are completely uninhabited. Most tourism of the Outback is heavily organized in groups and only explores areas relatively close to some human population and resources. Heading into the further reaches has the same perils as the Dalton Highway. If anything goes wrong, the odds are high that no one will ever find you. The wildlife in the Outback can be dangerous, but the biggest threat is the environment. This can be one of the hottest places on the planet, and it's very easy for the heat to simply overwhelm a tourist during the most intense seasons. And believe it or not, some people live in even more intense conditions. Number 16. Oiaon. Visiting Russia is a dicey prospect even if you're just visiting Moscow, given how many tourists have been detained over the years. But if you're looking to push the limits of human endurance, head to an isolated location in the northeast region of Siberia. That's where you'll find a city of under 500 permanent residents with a unique distinction. They live in the coldest permanently settled region on planet Earth. It's so cold that even for those used to the climate, surviving the winter is a big question mark every year. So no surprise, it does not get many visitors. The town is surrounded by two main valleys which trap wind and create an unusually cold environment. It played a key role in ferrying aircraft during the Second World War, but now it mostly relies on fur trading and ice fishing. The ground is permanently frozen, and while the temperature can reach into the 60s in Fahrenheit during the summer, during the winter it can plunge as low as negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit, with the lowest recorded temperature being negative 67 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a climate that is incredibly hard to survive in. The only advice for surviving here is to time your exposure carefully, dress well, and don't go out at night. A slow, frozen death awaits you if you visit here unprepared, but this next spot could give you a much faster and hotter one. Number 15. Mount Cinabong. The Karo Regency of Indonesia is a beautiful, highly agricultural region of Sumatra. The most distinctive feature in the region is Mount Cinabong, a beautiful mountain towering over the landscape. But this isn't just any mountain, it's an active stratovolcano, and one of the most active in the world. For hundreds of years it was dormant, believed to have last erupted between 740 and 880 CE. There was evidence of activity in 1912, and then in 2010 it woke up in a big way, and it's been spreading chaos ever since, and it's turned the entire area into a waiting game. Since 2013, the mountain has been erupting constantly, causing frequent evacuations of the nearby villagers. While the area is sparsely populated enough that it hasn't caused mass casualties, each eruption has posed dangers to both villagers and rescuers. But despite this, some volcanologists think that it might be one of the most interesting places on the planet. How often can you see lava and smoke columns in action on a regular basis? But locals warn that if you come, you're taking your life into your own hands. Would you believe that one of the most dangerous places in the world is a tourist attraction? Number 14. Tijuana. Just across the border from California, Tijuana is one of Mexico's most popular spots for American tourists. It is especially famous among college students looking for a wild night out, cheap drinks, loud music, and zero parental supervision. But the fun and partying cover a dark secret, which is that Tijuana is one of the most crime-riddled places in Mexico, and tourists can find themselves in a very dangerous situation, and not just from the street crime. The city is known for scams targeting tourists, and the unwary can find themselves short on money quickly. But at night, it becomes a much more dangerous place. Robbers and gang members are highly active here, and the murder rate is the fifth highest of any recorded around the world, at 105 per 100,000 in 2022. The cartels are always a worry in Mexico, but the average tourist might have more to fear from another group: the police. The cops in this area are known for demanding bribes from people they arrest, whether they're guilty or not. So getting over the border might be easy, but getting back might have some complications. And if you're looking to avoid a longer than expected stay, this next stop should be off your bucket list. Number 13. North Korea. When traveling abroad, tourists are always advised to exercise caution. Being detained in a foreign country means you have far fewer rights than you would back home, especially if you're visiting a dictatorship. But no country is harder to get into or out of than the Hermit Kingdom of North Korea. Run by the Kim family for over 70 years, the country only offers highly structured tours to foreigners run by government-approved guides. If you choose to go here, you'll go where they want, when they want, and not cause any trouble. Because if you do, the consequences can be deadly. An American tourist was accused of a crime in North Korea and sentenced to more than a decade in a hard labor camp. He suffered severe injuries in custody and died soon after being released in a negotiated settlement. His crime? Stealing a poster of the country's dear leader. This matches up with the country's attitude toward criminal justice, which sentences entire generations of family to a life of hard labor if an ancestor committed crimes against the state. With a government like this, the only way to ensure your safety is don't go. Which raises a question: if a place is so dangerous, why are people trying to get in? Number 12. The Darian Gap. North and South America are joined by a narrow strip of land connecting Colombia to Panama, making it one of the most heavily traveled routes in the world today. It's the only land bridge leading from South America to the United States, and it is key for the millions of migrants who are fleeing poverty, crime, and oppression in countries like Venezuela. But it's not an easy path to get there because of the Darian Gap. This is one of the most inhospitable places on the planet, consisting mostly of dense rainforest, mountains, and a large drainage basin, which means that migrants are literally dying to get out. Those who travel in this area are likely to encounter some of the world's most challenging terrain, including flooded rivers that can surge at any time and drown people in narrow passageways. The safest route is currently along the coast by taking a motorboat, but that opens up people to the other major risk of the area: crime and corruption. Taking a boat usually involves hiring one, and any smuggler could turn out to be a criminal looking to rob migrants of whatever they have and abandon them. And that means many migrants will still try to ford the deadly area themselves, often at the cost of their lives. And this next location might be even more intense, especially if you're feeling thirsty. Number 11. Danakil Desert. Stretching across over 52,000 square miles, the Danakil Desert covers a large swath of Ethiopia, along with smaller countries Eritrea and Djibouti. It's almost entirely uninhabited, containing only a few Afar tribesmen who use it for salt mining. That's because this is one of the most hostile climates on the planet. It's incredibly hot and well below sea level, a whopping 302 feet. This concentrates the heat and makes this the hottest place year-round on the planet, with a shocking average annual temperature of over 94 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're hoping for some water to cool off, keep hoping. The climate of the Danakil Desert is also one of the driest on the planet, with less than an inch of rainfall per year. The climate's also full of volcanic activity, which has created a unique geographic system, with several lakes formed by lava flows, not that they have any water in them. Precipitation here evaporates faster than it falls. Aside from the small group of salt miners who know how to keep cool in the climate, you're not likely to see any other people here, which means that getting overwhelmed by the heat and running out of water can easily spell death. If you're Indiana Jones, you should probably stay away from this next one. Number 10. Snake Island. Also known as Ilha de Queimada Grande, this small Brazilian island has a population of 0, at least 0 humans. It's a unique place that has both rocky areas and rainforest, and those rainforests are filled with one of the most varied populations of snakes in the world, including several highly venomous species. It's believed there's at least one snake every 3.2 feet, although some say the island is too small and desolate to support that population. The slithering natives prey on bird species and other small wildlife in the area, and it is closed, not for our safety but for theirs. Brazil has closed off the island to everyone but the government-authorized researchers who catalog the population and work to preserve the ecosystem. But they have to work with one of the most venomous snakes in the world, the endangered golden lancehead. It's likely there are several thousand of the species on the island, which means anywhere you step could be a step right into death, and an unauthorized visitor on the island would likely die before they could get help. But you're more likely to survive a visit here than the next island. Number 9. North Sentinel Island. We live in a global economy, and there are very few places that are completely off limits to travel. But then there's North Sentinel Island, a remote area off the coast of India, home to one of the most isolated tribes on Earth. The North Sentinelese, estimated to number anywhere from 39 to 400 people, voluntarily isolate themselves from the rest of the world. While a few researchers have visited the island to try to document the tribe, visitors are strictly prohibited, which is a good thing, because the islanders aren't afraid to defend themselves. The North Sentinelese are known to be extremely territorial and to attack approaching vessels, even those who just come too close by accident. Their primary method of attack seems to be arrows, which are surprisingly effective. As John Allen Chow found out, the evangelical missionary who attempted to contact the tribe, hoping to convert them to Christianity. On his first try, an arrow pierced his waterproof Bible, but he didn't take the hint. He returned 2 more times, and on his 3rd visit he was killed. And so India once again issued the standard warning, just don't go there. And in terms of a tourist ban, it doesn't get worse than an active civil war. Number 8. Sana'a, Yemen. Yemen has always been one of the most volatile countries in the Middle East, being far poorer than its oil-rich neighbors and plagued by violence. It's been fighting a civil war since 2014, and any visitors to the country were warned to never leave their hotel alone and to exercise caution. But that yellow warning has turned into a flashing red alert. Since taking control of the capital, the rebel Houthi faction has installed a far more hardline government, one that is openly hostile toward the US and its allies. But at least they won't be provoking any powerful countries, right? Yemen was a dangerous country in its state of civil war, but then the Houthis started instituting a blockade on the Red Sea. They started attacking merchant vessels in retaliation for the United States and other countries backing Israel in its war against Hamas. After countless provocations, the US began striking back against Houthi leadership throughout Yemen. This means any spot in the Houthi-controlled capital could be blown up if it was deemed to have a high-profile target there. So anyone who goes is taking their life into their hands. And in war zones, life goes on until it doesn't. Number 7. Ukraine. The largest scale and highest profile war going on in the world right now is located within Ukraine's borders. The country has been under attack since 2022 after almost a decade of Russian territorial provocations. And today there's danger no matter where you are in the country. Large portions of the country, close to 20%, have been annexed by Russia and are under military occupation. Little is known about life under Russia in those areas, but several cities like Mariupol are known to have been completely destroyed. And for those in the rest of the country, terror is only an air raid siren away. After Vladimir Putin failed in his attempt to reach Kyiv in the early days of the war, he's been battling to gain territory inch by inch and bombarding the rest of the country with artillery. Life goes on in Kyiv and other major cities until an air raid siren goes off and everyone flees for safety. And it's not only the big cities that are targeted. Putin is known for targeting areas with emotional significance, like President Zelensky's hometown or even the hometown of Ukraine's Eurovision contenders. This next country isn't the most dangerous in the world, but it has one location that is instant death. Number 6. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Located in the center of Africa, Cameroon is a diverse and beautiful country. But in its northwest region, it has a lake with a deadly secret. Lake Nyos is a crater lake located on the flank of an inactive volcano. But its geography has turned it into a terrifying spot. Its boundaries are formed by a volcanic dam, and located below the lake is a pocket of magma from the volcano. This means that slowly but surely, it leaks carbon dioxide into the lake, turning the water into acid. The lake is completely unsuitable for swimming, but that is far from its most dangerous property. When the lake becomes fully saturated with carbon dioxide, it's very volatile. If a natural disaster like an earthquake or a landslide disrupts it, that large amount of gas could be released. And that is exactly what happened in 1986. A massive cloud of CO2 gas was shaken loose and permeated the nearby village, pushing out the oxygen and suffocating over 1,700 people. Scientists have been working on ways to degas the lake, but the threats persist, which hasn't stopped some villagers from returning. This next spot has been synonymous with chaos for decades. Number 5. Mogadishu. Somalia is one of the most dangerous countries on Earth, with a barely functioning government and an ongoing battle with various gangs and rebel factions. It entered the news in the 1990s when 3 American helicopters were shot down over the country, kicking off a deadly battle. The powerful Al-Shabaab terror group, aligned with Al-Qaeda, has plagued the country for decades, and the current federal government struggles to stay afloat. The country is in a reconstruction phase, but it is frequently set back by attacks, which has led the State Department to issue an unprecedented warning. If you're planning on traveling to Somalia, the US government basically says, get your affairs in order and have a point of contact to negotiate for you. Foreign tourists and business travelers are especially vulnerable to being kidnapped and ransomed by Al-Shabaab or killed. And not even those off the coast are safe. Piracy is infamous in the waters off Somalia, but that may be changing. A breakaway province known as Somaliland is seeking independence, and it is considered to be the most stable region in the country. But one area of Africa might be more infamous than any other. Number 4. The Skeleton Coast. When a region is named for just how many bones of the dead you'll find while exploring it, you know you're in for a bad time. The infamous Skeleton Coast is found along the Atlantic shore of Namibia, in southern Africa, and it is a notoriously dangerous spot. Referred to as the land God made in anger by the indigenous tribesmen, it is highly perilous to visit due to dense ocean fogs, causing frequent shipwrecks. For anyone who lands on the coast, they'll find plenty of water, but not a drop to drink. The surf is high, but it's seawater and barely any rain falls here. And heading inland, it's not much better. Very little grows here, and the sand and rock along the coast is dotted with shipwrecks, whale skeletons, and the carcasses of local animals. Visually, it's a fascinating spot, but it's not easy to get in or out. The surf is so intense that any small vessels will likely find themselves just tossed right back to the coast. The only way to a safer spot is through a dense, dangerous marsh in extremely intense heat and humidity. It's one of the most remote areas on Earth, and that has attracted quite a few adventure tourists. Let's head back to the former Soviet Union for a place that might kill you just from being there. Number 3. Myusu. Chernobyl is the former Soviet Union's most infamous nuclear site, but it's well known and well guarded since it was abandoned. But the same can't be said for Myusu, a mining town on the border of Kyrgyzstan. With a population of just under 26,000 people, it relied heavily on uranium mining during the Soviet era. That industry has long since collapsed, leaving this one of the most economically troubled areas in Central Asia. But that is the least of the problems facing the struggling city, because the uranium industry left a long legacy. The entire region was heavily strip-mined for minerals, leaving the massive tailing pits unstable and vulnerable to breaches. The town has been plagued by disasters, including mudslides, flood, and pollution. Additionally, the area has been tested and found to be one of the most radioactive spots in the world where people still live. So any visit here will expose you to some of the most dangerous substances in the world. But with this region becoming more and more desolate with each passing year, it's unlikely any tourism will happen. But more people than ever want to get to this next destination, no matter how many die along the way. Number 1. Mount Everest. The tallest mountain in the world above sea level. It has a staggering height of over 29,000 feet. The higher you get, the more challenging it gets. Not only is the snow-capped Himalayan mountain incredibly cold, but the air pressure gets lower and lower, making it difficult to breathe. To reach the summit, climbers will have to navigate steep rock faces, narrow cliff edges, and brutal winds in a climate where one wrong step can mean death. And even if you don't fall, exhaustion and lack of air can easily kill even an experienced climber. Humans were simply not meant to climb up this high, so naturally they don't stop trying. Mount Everest remains one of the most sought-after climbing destinations in the world, with hikers hiring native Nepali Sherpas to escort them at a great cost. Over the years, more than 340 people have died trying to reach the summit, and most of their bodies are still on the mountain. The bodies are near impossible to retrieve and freeze solid. In fact, the body of a climber named Green Boots has become a marker on the route up Everest, marking a key point on the journey and a warning that just maybe it's not worth it. Which of these deadly destinations shocked you the most? Would you visit any of them? Share your thoughts below. Now go check out what was the worst time to be alive in history, or watch this video instead.